What if I told you a new game is stepping right on Genshin Impact's toes, but without the gacha mechanics? Well, today, we're talking about Dragonsword Awakening, an open-world action RPG that blends exploration, team combat, collectible characters, and a massive dose of fantasy. It's starting a bit of a revolution on its own scale, and above all, sparking some very heated debates on social media. Namely, is Dragonsword Awakening, given what it brings to the table, a genuine alternative to free-to-play gacha games like Genshin Impact or Honkai? Well, after grinding the game non-stop, it's time to give you my honest review of Dragonsword. Welcome to the Gamers Corner channel. I bring you reviews and previews of all the latest releases. The video is broken down into chapters for your viewing convenience. So, let's jump into the review of Dragonsword. The first thing that leaps out at you with this game is obviously its inspiration. If you've played Genshin Impact, you're going to recognize certain mechanics immediately. You get a colorful open world, exploration, chests, puzzles, dungeons, side quests, mini-games, and tons of other small activities scattered across the map, including elite bosses and world bosses. Naturally, there is an awful lot to do, and at this point, the comparison to Genshin Impact is almost impossible to avoid. But Dragonsword still has its own identity. The world of Orbis is pleasant to explore, and most importantly, it consistently rewards your curiosity. See something off in the distance, like a cave or a mountain with a tree that looks a bit different from the rest? You'll be able to go right there, and usually, there'll be an activity waiting for you, a chest to grab, or even an elite boss. In short, there's always something intriguing standing out from the visual landscape. As for combat, it gets really interesting in Dragonsword because the fights are extremely dynamic. You'll build a team of 3 characters in total and swap between them during battle. The system lets you combine different abilities and effects. Essentially, your characters have 2 main skills they can trigger, each with its own cooldown, applying a status effect to the enemy, such as burning them, freezing them, or launching them into the air. When this status effect is active, another character on your team can trigger a unique skill. The system is super simple, yet remarkably deep. It's important that we spend a bit of time on this combat mechanic. Each character has 4 skills. 2 skills that can be activated at any time, whose cooldowns are reduced the more you attack. A 3rd skill that activates once an effect has been applied to an enemy. For example, you have a skill that can only trigger if the enemy is in the stunned status state. And a 4th ultimate skill, which can also only be activated when a specific effect has been applied. When building your team, these synergies are crucial to consider, since the goal is to use all these skills that can only trigger once a specific status effect is applied. So in my team, whenever the stunned effect is on the enemy, I have 2 characters who can trigger 2 massive attacks that are conditioned on the enemy being stunned. When the enemy has the knockdown debuff, I have another 2 characters ready to unleash conditioned attacks on top of their standard skills that can be used at any time. It sounds really simple, but it's incredibly deep because with 19 playable characters, the possibilities are endless, allowing you to build ultra-interesting team compositions. And now, it's time to address the topic I brought up in the intro. This game has no gacha. You get absolutely everything in this version. You can unlock and obtain all the characters because the game is a flat fee purchase. It sells for €29, €29.99 to be exact. That's the question being raised, and that's why there's so much debate. What if in Genshin Impact, you could get all the characters, all the weapons, customize them right from day one for just a $30 price tag, with all the content readily available? Sure, they're still grinding for resources, but without the luck-based RNG system of a gacha. So that's the big question. What's the play here? Is this a better deal or not? Well, for the most part, the community seems to have made up its mind, because as I mentioned in the intro, the game is starting its own little revolution, to say the least. Why? Because it's a smash hit. It's sitting at almost 9,000 reviews on Steam, and they're very positive. We're right on the threshold of 9,000 reviews with a very positive rating. Many players praise the fact that paying $30 upfront gives you a game with depth and that whole Genshin-style genre feel, but without enduring hellish grinding, gacha frustration, or spending astronomical amounts of money just to get everything you need. On my end, I'll give you my final verdict on that in just a few minutes. It doesn't stray too far from what players are saying, but there are still a few key points I want to highlight. The first is multiplayer. There is a multiplayer component, but it's extremely limited on this title at the moment. I hope it's something they seriously expand on, because at its core, this is a game designed primarily for single player, meaning you can only explore the open world solo. You do get multiplayer instances through boss fights. From the main menu, you can launch boss encounters that let you farm items and resources to upgrade your characters. And there's no matchmaking available for them right now. It works through an invite system using a code to invite your friends. But honestly, if you don't have friends playing this kind of game, it's pretty annoying, because without an invite code, you're forced to tackle these bosses solo. So yeah, no matchmaking yet for these boss fights. However, there is another mode you'll unlock once you reach the final third of the game: raids. Raids are essentially a boss rush. You take on a sequence of bosses, and in this case, matchmaking is available. You can create a lobby and players can jump in for raid mode, but it's strictly limited to those instances. So arena boss fights require a code, while raids have matchmaking. Maybe they'll open up matchmaking for boss fights too. I don't see why they wouldn't, but for now, it's very restricted. Either way, for the open world, single player is definitely the main focus. Next up, we need to talk a bit about the UI. You can tell that originally, this was meant to be a free-to-play mobile game. It has that mobile feel to it. Visually, it looks nice and all, but if you look closely at the clouds or the landscapes, you notice certain limitations, as well as in the user interface. It's true that, well, you can tell it wasn't designed for PC or console from the ground up. That mobile DNA is pretty strong. The game is currently only available on PC, but it exploded in popularity so fast that less than 48 to 72 hours after launch, the studio made an announcement confirming a console port is coming. And honestly, I get it. Given what a massive tidal wave it's been, if you follow this genre at all, it launched without much hype or coverage, but now that it's out, it took me some time. I didn't get early access or anything, which is why my review is dropping a few weeks after release. I really wanted to deliver a deep dive review as always, and looking at it now, there are already 9,000 Steam reviews. Just think about how many active players that represents, given how few people actually leave Steam reviews. Speaking of mobile, I also tested the game on the Steam Deck, and at launch, flawless. For weeks, most of my playtime was on the Steam Deck. I had a blast. It was super well optimized and ran like a charm. I say ran because they pushed an update, and I think it's a pretty rare issue, where I just got unlucky, though I doubt I'm the only one. I literally can't launch it anymore. The game won't even open. I click play, it loads, and boom, it drops me right back onto the green play button. So I'm going to contact them to let them know there's likely a bug. I'm not sure if it's something they need to patch or if I need to grab a fix, but under normal circumstances on Steam Deck, you shouldn't run into issues. It ran like a dream before, but right now I'm stuck with this glitch. We haven't talked about the story yet. Now on this front, I'm a bit mixed. The issue with Dragonsword is that it leans heavily into classic JRPG tropes. First off, you're drowning in dialogue. It takes its sweet time, the sneaky bastard, and after a while, you just reach a breaking point. Plus, the storyline itself is pretty generic. Legendary heroes save the world, Now they're old, a new threat has emerged. You've got dragons, dark knights. In short, it's nothing to write home about. It's interesting enough to follow, but for me, way too much, way too much, way too much dialogue. Same goes for side quests. You get buried under walls of text. Luckily, you can skip them. I'll admit, for side quests like, I lost my sheep, let's go find it, I was mashing that skip button so fast because I knew I wasn't missing out on mind-blowing lore. So, the verdict. Without further ado, I can confirm it's a solid buy. Honestly, if this genre interests you, go right ahead. The value for money is definitely there. Endless hours of gameplay await you to unlock all the characters, farm resources, and so on. The main story is enjoyable to follow as well. Expect around 30 hours to finish it, depending on your pace, of course. There are genuine difficulty spikes too. The first raid, there are currently 2 raids available in the game. And keep in mind, I did side content, I farmed bosses, I maxed out my characters and everything. But at the first boss of the first raid, I was sitting there like, wow, this is brutal. Seriously, that boss is super annoying. Every single time you're midway through executing a skill, he manages to interrupt you. It's a boss that's, well, it's not a Souls-like, but when I finally beat him, I was hyped. Because he takes forever to take down, he's relentless, and he pumps out serious damage and AoE attacks. Another negative point I should mention is that combat can get pretty chaotic when there are multiple enemies or massive mobs, especially with the camera placement. It can be a bit annoying to read the action at times, but it's manageable. So all this to say, the value for money is definitely there. It's not a flawless game, but it earns its very positive rating. It's not overwhelmingly positive on Steam, but players have rated it very highly, as is often the case. However, I will say this, it's not going to be the Genshin killer, because it's still lacking features, especially in multiplayer. I think Genshin Impact still has plenty of fuel in the tank before facing that level of threat. Plus, being free to play makes Genshin much more accessible compared to a paid title. Either way, this could spark great ideas for the future when adapting gacha games, making developers think twice while designing games they initially planned to monetize as gachas. They might reevaluate and say, look at Dragonsword, it set a precedent and became a massive hit. As I mentioned, they've already confirmed upcoming DLC, new characters, new skins, and new raids. So yeah, the developers got completely overwhelmed with sales. They're thrilled. They're practically swimming in money, which will give the studio the resources they need to keep expanding the title with extra content. So there you go, lots of positives overall. For a cheap $30 price tag, I think I can comfortably tell you to go for it if you're interested, without taking much of a gamble. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't hesitate to let me know what you think in the comments. We'll see each other very soon in the next video. This was John for Gamers Corner. Ciao.